начиная 4-й пик команды Клатч.
Смотри, Oracle плюс Кунка это такая себе связка саппорта, потому что Кунки, ну, в целом, не камильфо стоять в трипле. Ему нужно больше ходить в мид, кидать какие-то торренты. Соответственно, Клатче надо взять в мид, чтобы подо что-то кидать торренты героя.
Да, у них тогда будет на всех 3 линиях под Oracle, под Слардара, везде можно будет закинуть торрент.
Чем под что? Он просто на крест вышел, посадил его в торрент.
Это когда будет?
Не, ну это лучше-то и то, и другое сделать.
Да.
То есть, как бы у тебя, чтобы был дизейбл, подизейбл торрент, и потом, если противник выбегает, еще на кресте ты его мог вернуть. Ну, такой полудизраптор получается. Поэтому я, может быть, какой-то ОД заедет еще сверху. Тоже часто связка была ОД Кунка. Стоишь, вот тебя все равно прячет, ты в какой-то момент же просто не начинаешь, как ты выйти, делает, залетает торрент.
Че там Дим крякнул?
Да, я крякаю на тему того, чтобы вы, как только пики закончатся, побыстрее завершали свой эфир, потому что у нас премьера Милы на экранах, она первый раз будет работать на камеру, мы выведем ее для вас.
Зачем ты во время аналитики говоришь, когда драфт обсуждаешь?
Потому что если я буду говорить это позже, то вы не успеете закончить.
Зрители, готовьтесь к Миле.
Мила в финале?
Мила в финале.
Мила в финале. Тинкер. Вот давно я не видел Тинкера от профессиональных команд. Конкретно на...
Да, бывает.
Ну вот сколько мы освещаем уже, да, 2 дня, я не видел Тинкера пока что.
А Тингер тоже ситуативно заходит, просто есть определенный какой-то набор героев и противника, которые Тингеру не даст жить. Его нельзя пикать сразу. Вот. Его нужно пикать на 4-м.
Это абузик, Сереж, ты не заметил у Клатчи? Это Тинкер на марочке.
Да.
Бессмертный. Кунка будет просто стоять на фонтане, кидать в Тинкера кресты, Тинкер будет летать по всей карте, если что, я буду возвращать. И контриться это вроде только юлами.
Только юлом, причем, опять же, тяжело контриться юлами, потому что тебе нужно в правильный момент нажать, ибо если ты, например, только он прилетел, нажимаешь, крест еще не спадет.
Ну вот есть Шторм, но я думаю, он не будет контрить, если там будет крест.
Шторм не самый сильный здесь. Шторм должен бёрстить героев, здесь Тинкер на кресте, его не поймать. Юла, вряд ли он будет на Шторме.
Шторм сам себя некомфортно себя будет чувствовать, потому что...
Против Кунки с Лордара.
Да, есть Лордар, есть крест как раз, на который можно вернуть.
А сейва никакого нету от Кунки. То есть 5-м пиком надо брать какую-то 5-ку, которая может, если что, тебя спасти.
Мне очень сильно нравится стратегия Клатч. То есть вот у них есть 2 героя, которые взаимодействуют, которые неизвестная такая взаимосвязка или которые забыли. То есть что-то новое всегда хорошо
это
забыть
фишечка,
старое.
Да,
это фишечка.
Смотря, они вуалируют пик Хускара. Они специально
забанили Рубика, а не аппарата.
Они специально забанили, да, не аппарат, потому что если прошел бан аппарата, сразу был бан Хускара. И здесь вот надо думать.
И сейчас 5-м пиком у них будет возможность
забрать себе героя. Сейчас Хускар заедет.
А Шторм вообще ничего Хускару не делает.
Все вот эти 4 героя вообще ничего Хускару не
делают. Сейчас еще возьмут героя саппорта.
И то, под дизолятор еще надо там буризу сверху.
Если они возьмут Хускара, то будет реально next level разума какого-то там.
Или ТБ они возьмут.
То есть берешь Тинкера, чтобы взяли Шторма, который ничего не делает Хускару, идете пушите ракетами, постоянно сбиваете ХП, то есть враги не могут напасть на вас, и Хускар просто стоит и долбит выше.
Сама фишка в бане, то есть они не показали своего Хускара, думают, что, возможно, Минески не додумаются, что там будет Хускар.
Ну вот, сейчас
Сайленсер, кстати, хорошо Хускар.
Сайленсер неплохо, да. Ну, сейчас или Хускар, или ТБ, вот это лучший будет пик.
Это Вивер, стойте, это получается Вивер у нас оффлейн? Нет, Вивер кэрри будет.
Сайленсер саппорт, скорее всего.
Сайленсер с огромным саппортом и Сандкинг сложно.
Кидать, замедлять.
Но есть комбинушка, это Сандкинг Сайленсер все-таки. Да и вообще Шторм под глобал может залетать, соло-киллы делать, и Oracle не сейвит.
Но Шторм слабый вайнер.
Это работает до момента, пока не появятся какие-то грифсы, лотусы и так далее. Пока бэшки.
Ну, придется Кунки грифсы.
Придется. Сверет, я думаю.
Вопрос с Хускаром, как это, с Хускаром, Старблейдом, как работает?
Войд какой-то тоже неплохо смотрится. Под него корабль можно закинуть.
Ты берешь на 8-9 минуте как раз ПТ, берешь ПТшечку, армлет там и Морбит маску и просто начинаешь ломать таура, и тебе никто ничего сделать не может из этих героев.
Ребят, коротко, кто победит в данной встрече, и, собственно, переключаемся уже на Милу.
Клатч?
Поставлю на Минески. Нравится мне комбинушка с Сайленсом, Штормом, Сандкингом.
Я на Клатч, наверное, поставлю то, что все-таки этот Терблейд под Ораком должен выиграть.
Я поставлю на Минески, потому что, мне кажется, быть может, Клатч просто набрать сил и переиграет себя в данной встрече, а у Минески такой стабильный пик, все понятно, то есть влетаешь в глобал.
Парни, когда я говорю быстро.
Передаем слово тебе, господин ведущий.
Да не мне, Миля.
С ним разобраться. То есть ты ставишь на Минески?
Я ставлю на Шторма.
Ты ставишь на Шторма. Хорошо, тогда я поставлю на Террорблейда. Мне больше ничего и не остается. Спорим?
Нас показывают.
Да.
Игра
еще не началась, но буквально пару минут осталось. И очень важный матч. Команды с хорошей статистикой. Ну, я ожидаю жар. Тем более Азия же.
Азия.
Тут такое может.
because we've watched them so consistently execute those combinations for 3 through 5, I have a lot more faith that they're going to be able to give the Terrorblade the support he needs.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, looking at their draft, sure, it's a little lacking at the start when it comes to, you know, these heroes like Weaver and Storm, but they can very easily itemize towards the mid game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tinker went for a build where, you know, you go the standard Aether Lens and Scepter, and then right after that, he'll just go straight into the Sheep Sting, and then a lot of your problems are solved.
Okay. What do you think we're going to see out of, build-wise, what do you think we're going to see out of Miracle on this Weaver? Are you think you're going to see, is he going to go for that early-ish Lincolns here?
I think you have to go for that Lincolns. If you get X, chances are you're pretty much dead if you get X. So, Lincolns, Diffusal, Dragonlance, something along the lines of that.
And then Storm, the question is to me, so we talked second phase of the draft that Mineski might be going in the direction of the BKB cores. Does Storm consider like a third item BKB here?
I think so. It's probably Bloodstone Orchid BKB. Could be a good route.
I can't actually imagine him being able to be effective in this game without those 3 items in that exact order.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with that said,
yeah,
my money
thoughts
is
here.
definitely on Clutch Gamers.
Yeah.
See, going into this tournament, like knowing as little as many people did about Clutch Gamers, I would have to say that it's just the ease of execution of Mineski's lineup makes so much more sense. Like it's like okay, just hit your buttons, hit your spells, do your thing. And whereas Clutch Gamers, this draft is so high skill cap. Like it has so much more potential, but it's extremely difficult.
They could play that skill cap though.
That's exactly the thing.
Going into this, I would not think that a team that I have barely heard of, I've only seen in a couple of online tournaments, would be able to execute this high of a technical skill draft in the way that they need to, and my money would be on the other side. But we've seen the group stage, we've seen what Clutch Gamers can do, and I'm all in on them. I think that they're going to be able to pull this one off.
Look at this.
So no way, guys. Do we seriously have a clean sweep here?
No, I'm going to go Mineski.
You're going to go Mineski. All right. That's what I wanted. I wanted
more
somebody...
so with my heart than my brain. But okay. I feel like the Philippine teams, it's playoff time. They are a hot and cold team, and I'm just hoping that they're hot today.
Okay. I think that's a respectable pick. They definitely have a draft that they're going to be very comfortable executing. But I definitely agree with Blaze. Like, it's not a matter of the numbers or the records. It's a matter of we've seen this particular team execute so flawlessly those disable combos 3 through 5. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys. That said, we do have some casters covering this game for you. You're going to be able to follow all of the action live on our streams Beyond the Summit 2 through 4, 5 as well, as we get some of the other regions going during the day. But for now, we're going to throw you out to our casters. Here is Lyrical.
Like your dream.
How do you feel like it sort of evens out, though, in the mid-game? Oh, my God.
It doesn't look like it'll be a kill, but...
I know, or used.
If he hits another torrent, all the creep's gonna block him.
What?
That's a disaster.
Oh my God.
He didn't realize.
Trying to go for the Torn is going to be able to break the salve. They hit it. Vision is there. The right click's coming through, and RR is going to go down. They draw first blood for Fly Solo.
We talked about how effective Kunka was last time in the early game he played. He does it again. He hits a torrent. Even if they don't get that kill initially, his job's already done. He secured the lane for the Terrorblade by getting his Sand King down to red HP, but he does follow it. He hits a second torrent in a row. Arbin gets the kill on the Terrorblade. Fantastic play there. And I mean, Terrorblade didn't realize the creep was going to block the Sand King, perhaps. Otherwise, he would have got the kill a bit easier, but they got it nonetheless.
And I think that a lot of people looking at this game would be expecting that Clutch Gamers are coming in as an underdog, but they were the 1 seed. They were the ones that chose. So certainly a lot of pressure on the line for this team, and we'll see how they end up dealing with it as R is pushing this lane in quite heavily along the bottom. I'll be able to see us under tower a bit.
Probably looking to push it out, make it harder for the Terrorblade to last him to tower, and then you go for that side pull. So you deny some waves, deny some XP. Not much the dire side can do to stop this pull from happening. So I think Mineski are going to be fine with this. I mean, they wanted that aggro tri-lane to burst the Terrorblade with, but Sand King is also a good matchup versus the Terrorblade. So the response may just be Ogre roaming down bottom a bit. So regardless of where Terrorblade went, he was going to have a tough matchup. The bottom lane is just the easier of the two. And with that early kill, unfortunately it didn't get picked up by Arbing. It did go the Oracle's way, which would have been a nice bit of gold for Arbing, but still looking good on Terrorblade.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get a good portion of these. Also took one of the large creep as well from them. It's not all
big deal.
bad. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, that's like 2 CS right there. Like and that was all set up by your opponent's pull. So perhaps perhaps not using that side pull to the best effect. Pretty much gifting Terrorblade some farm, even though it pulled the way back a bit. I think that doesn't really do a whole lot as far as helping the lane goes. But all in all, it's still early days here. Tinker's doing well in the mid lane. I think that's the other big thing is like it's not all about the Terrorblade for clutch gamers. So if Tinker's doing well at mid, you're not too worried about him not necessarily free farming that bottom.
Oh, and now going in for it. There's going to be a Torrent after the X. They get the Burrow Strike on the Ogbang, though, and trying to turn around. They might be able to bring him off the Purge to take down any bit of mitigation, but he's still going to fall. And now RR, he ends up going down as well, but Silencer has shown up and maybe going to be able to kill a Fly Solo. He's out of there. My goodness, that was mighty close, though.
Purple's just like, I'm going to show up and try to steal some mid here. He showed up too late for the first kill, and then the other two got away. So unfortunately, Ninja Boogie doesn't get any +2s there, but still, Mineski get themselves on the board with that kill on Terrorblade. That's one of the two big carries here. Again, it's not all about the Terrorblade. There is the Tinker problem in the mid lane, who's currently holding his own, even on farm with the Storm. No one really winning there. Tinker with a few more denies, so slight edge going Tinker's way, you could say. But realistically, this is like the kind of expected result for the two mid laners. No one on top, no one really having an edge there until we see those first perhaps movements from Storm, depending on what runes you get. Right.
Well, and I also have to mention that we're sort of switching up the lanes a little bit. I think that part of the Silencer coming down here as well was to try and deal with the aggression that you saw from both the Kunkka and the Oracle in the area. And now it's sort of the Terrorblade left alone, but a smoke play might be in towards mid to see if they can find the Storm Spirit farming.
Not really worth smoking bottom when you haven't got Metamorphosis, die scan, they see no one's there. They're probably a little bit like, okay, where is the Storm? Is he at that far left camp? But I like what Miracle's doing. He's farming in a very, very safe. Oh, sorry, not Miracle, of course, Bimbo. He's just farming in like the safest place possible for himself, way deep in the Radiant jungle.
They kind of have a good idea that this is all going on. Meantime, Jules up here as well as the Weaver trying to control Apana. It might be a little bit in trouble. They do have a Fire Blast to break any TP potential as well, so the chase, Fire Blast there, right click's going to come through. He's able to dodge away from the Crush as well, and well, they get a kill.
Yeah, I think this is what Miracle wants from his early game. Like I think he was probably hoping to be versed in that Trallon. He doesn't want to just be farming, he wants to be involved in fights, so whether it's TPing to rotate to other lanes to find kills like bottom, or having a teammate get kills up top, he wants to be getting aggressive.
Oh, and Abang again, maybe in a little bit of trouble. They're going to have to X back and keep RR under control, but they almost brought down. Man, that was a lot of damage there onto the Terrorblade.
Yeah, they've got the Shrine that they can pop here, and I was about to say, Abang going back to base doesn't seem like the best idea when the Shrine's still available, so they'll swoop on into the side and use that one, and be able to sustain this lane. With Metamorph coming back up, this lane gets a bit more, I mean, not just like he's farming alright, but now we can go for kills. That's where last time they got aggressive, it's around the Metamorph cooldown. So anytime Metamorph is up, clutch gamers can pose a threat in this bottom lane. When it's down, all they can do is kind of passively farm and react to Mineski's aggression.
Well, for now, again, that pole we were talking about, they're going to try and get it for themselves, but it doesn't look like it's going to quite get off. So Sizzlane is still going to meet in a little bit of a scary spot. But so far, the other big thing to talk about, you mentioned Bimbo in the mid lane on a Storm. He's level 6. This just sort of gives him some more survivability. Does the Tinker need to be worried at all about getting gone on, or could he maybe go on the Storm with this haste?
He's unlikely to kill Storm. Storm always has the escape, so I see it more as a defensive haste rune, or a rotate to the side lanes, but killing Storm with a haste is not all too feasible. He's also got the March build, so yeah, no points. He's not going to go for some 3-3-0 build. He's going for the farming build. I think more likely we see him perhaps prep for a TP to a side lane. He may be telling his team, like, let me bring a TP out on the courier, and then with his haste rune, you can perhaps go gank bottom or go gank top.
Oh, another X play now. They end up missing the Torrent combo, though, and you know what? It hasn't actually ended up working out for them this game that effectively. We've been missing some Torrents, and then the turnaround kill onto Terrorblade that happened earlier as well. Yeah. It's a rough one.
They also don't want to go too aggressive now because both Mineski cores can rotate in and be very dangerous. Storm as well as Weaver are two of the best heroes cores to rotate to a gank because they have gap closing capabilities. So for now, it looks like Mineski going to get a bit aggressive on Hana, but TPs coming in will deter any kind of a tower dive. But yeah, going for any kind of aggressive play at bottom, even with Metamorphosis, is just so dangerous with a potential Storm TP or a Weaver TP in. Those are the kind of heroes that will just clean up if you get low.
Oh, and now Abeng in the bottom lane with Oracle leaving. He is just going to go down yet again. Ninja Boogie on the silencer has just caused a ton of issues.
Yeah, he's just constantly harassing with the early arcane boots. I like that RI went for this. Normally we're seeing more of the tranquil boots on these core Sand Kings, but the arcane boots allowing himself to spam Burrow Strike, but also giving Ninja Boogie that extra bit of mana to keep using the arcane curse. It's just constant harass after harass, and Terrorblade couldn't really stay in that lane. He's going to keep TPing back down here. At some point, I feel like Abeng just needs to consider rotating into the jungle, because this bottom lane just does not seem like a good place for him to be farming.
Yeah, definitely have taken over that one with the Sand King. And, well, a nice little D ward here as well, going to be given to the Storm Spirit. He is level 8 at this point, Soul Ring online. But it does feel like Tinker is definitely the big winner out of this laning stage. And, I mean, going into the Boots of Travel about halfway there at this stage. When that happens, can he start moving around the map and sort of pushing out lanes while Abeng farms out the rest of the jungle?
Yeah, it's going to be this kind of awkward. It's a little bit awkward because both Tinker and Terrorblade can use the jungle, but yeah, once you've got the travels, Tinker can kind of start pushing out lanes, but until you've got travels and Blink, it's a bit dangerous. Like, you don't want to TP to a lane that's pushed up too far, otherwise a Storm or a Sand King's going to catch you. And this Sand King's actually going to... The other winner to me is the Sand King. He's going to have a Blink well before the Tinker does. So Tinker's going to hit Boots of Travel around Sand King's Blink Dagger, which means even though you've got Boots of Travel, Mineski have a great way to catch you, to pick you off, and find some kills. So... I think those are there. You mentioned the Tinker, I totally agree, but I think Sand King's the other problem hero to look at as far as the Radiant size goes.
Right, they're actually going to be bringing the Terrorblade up to the top lane, just trying to find a home for Abeng at some point in time in this game. The Weaver also going to be going for the Linken's build as, well, they've sort of posturing down bottom for kills. I feel like there's always a potential for a kill in this bottom lane here.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Any kind of a rotation, I mean, they've got Epicenter, they've got Global Silencer. That's the other big thing here. If they go on, if they want to go in with RR, he can always just go for it, straight up burrow Epicenter and not worry about getting cancelled because of the Global Silence.
Well, Global used. Armel's so low, it might end up dying to the Arcane Curse, and the Ignite is going to drop fairly low, but is going to be able to survive on 56 HP. Armel continuing to stick around. It's going to be able to take down Jules. All right.
Raindrop saves lives. Play mid, buy raindrops. That's the lesson of the story there. Armel, just the one raindrop proc, and that blocks enough damage that he gets away from that gank. He was on about 50, 60 HP at his low point, so stays alive, gets his Boots of Travel up. That's the other big thing here. That would have been such a big time to kill a Tinker because of the Boots of Travel timing, and I think Mineski recognized it. That's why they were... It was like a fairly low percentage play, but they felt like, let's go for it, and I kind of don't blame them, because you see how close that Tinker, how well he's doing, how close to Travels he is. If you kill him there, it's a huge kill. So going for it with just maybe slightly not enough damage, but hoping that you can get it still, is worth the risk, but unfortunately for them, it backfires, and now he does have Boots of Travel thanks to that overkill.
It feels like it might be also a good timing pretty soon to see if they can kill off the Sand King, and a similar light to that Boots of Travel, because outside of that, it's kind of hard to jump in right at the start of a fight with Storm, I feel like, so they're waiting on that Sand King Blink Dagger before they can really heavily punish the rest of these heroes.
Now it looks like are somewhat uncontested down bottom. I guess with TB and Tinker both looking to farm, maybe they just decide they don't have the best gank heroes, and they have a Blink Dagger of their own coming. Slider's actually on 1,700 gold. Haven't really been keeping too many tabs of him, but that's a very fast blink. Partly just through the jungle. Looks like he's been the one using the jungle. Sand King will stun him, and bottom lane Hana needs... Yeah, that's it. Be careful. He's going to take a lot of damage down here. But yeah, Slider's fast blink coming through the Iron Talon. Also the fact he's got Brown Boots. He didn't upgrade to Tranquils. He's going for like the most economical build to get the fastest Blink Dagger for himself.
This Arcane Curses with the Sprint on dealing a ton of damage. Brought down to 64 HP there.
Some painful stuff.
Well, meanwhile, Fly Solo in a little bit of trouble. He does have his ulti, ends up popping it now, goes for maybe a TP out. No, they're going to turn. Metamorphosis, X-Torrent, again, a little bit off the mark. Hasn't been able to hit those perfectly, but Fly Solo will live while Jules dies.
Yeah, with the Tinker coming up, it's kind of that stage where if Tinker ever TP's in and you've gone on someone else, it means you don't have spells to throw a Tinker. He's going to get a couple layers of March down. You can't fight in that March. You can't even fight into like a double heat-seeking missiles at this point with them leveled up to level 3 missiles. So very easy for the Tinker to deter any aggression, and they're going to need this Sand King to be lingering around ready to kind of catch the Tinker as he enters the fight. They have to have some hero throwing spells at Tinker.
All right, Abeng, everything purged off for the moment. Turns for the Sunder, able to stay alive. Really well played, but the Global is going to come out, but the boat came out first. Might be able to live through with the rum buff if they can get enough heals, but no, it's not. They had already used the False Promise, and so because of that, Terrorblade is going to fall. Amel's still very high in terms of his mana. Can think about maybe keep somebody alive, but it's just too much damage coming out here from Mineski. They can continue the chase now, and, well, Remnant for Vision in just a moment if they want. They pull back in the Kunkka. That is going to be 3 dead and a very big win there from Mineski. And if they're not careful, Amel maybe can, oh no, they turn on to Miracle. Nicely played
Blink
with
crush,
Hana
yeah.
getting that Blink Dagger.
Yeah, that was the reveal, I believe, with the Blink. And unfortunately for Clutch Gamers, it came right after the fight had already kind of been lost. If they'd had it at the very start with Slater up there, he had to finish it, I believe, at the bottom lane before he rotated up top. They could have gotten even more. And they are looking in this side shot. Both Storm and Ogre very low, but managed to get away before Hana finds anything. So not the kill they were hoping for, but a really good start to the fight from Mineski. They had the numbers advantage. I think it was, if Slater's there with Blink at the very start, it's not such a convincing fight for them because they didn't get as many kills or didn't get as much done like during the global silence as perhaps I expected. They secured the Terrorblade kill, but the response potential was there from a Tinker. You had level 4 marks they were fighting under, you had the heat-seeking missiles, they just lacked that control. The Blink Crush from Slater now coming up is going to be what Clutch Gamers need to kind of set the tempo for themselves. And right now, 14 minutes in, this game's still very neck and neck. No team has really pulled ahead, started to take objectives, win fights. One good pick-off or two for Clutch Gamers, they definitely can. They've got the Terrorblade. Weaver, not quite as good of a pushing hero, so Mineski are really looking for like the convincing teamfight wins. They want to kill 3-4 heroes when they engage, whereas Clutch Gamers are happy with like a single hero pick-off if it gets them an objective.
Well, maybe a single target pick-off right here. Jules is going to end up running into Fly Solo, and they could think about going on this with the Blink, but they also have Sand King in the area, so not wanting to jump too far forward. And it looks like they are going to be backing out. Well, Storm almost there, caught, amp damage up, still have vision of him while they pressure in the tier 1 tower and take it down.
Oka just walks up, clubs the tower, gets a deny. That's a bit of a lucky timing for him, but also willing to go in, and Clutch Gamers did nothing to zone him out or punish that. So Storm needs to be careful up top. A Blink Crush could come in.
Oh, trying to go. Good reaction time there.
Yeah, Bimbo's yeah, one of the very mechanical Southeast Asian players. I think talk about Bimbo and like his downsides as a player, it's always in decision making, but his mechanics, his reaction times for play, he was so ready for that Storm. He probably had his mouse cursor already hovered for the ball lightning on either the ground or on his hero to dodge that crush. That was incredibly fast response.
Meanwhile, down bottom, they're going to try and go on to Miracle, but RR is in the area as well. They Blink Crush. Mineski is going to end up being able to turn it back around now. Global Silence comes out as well, but maybe in a little bit of trouble. Can they control up and kill off RR? Certainly. Looks like Miracle is going to be X back in as well. Pull, the boat connects. Sentry wards are all over the damn place, so they will be able to spot him out.
It was like a slight hesitation before the global silence. He went for the instant burrow epis. That's kind of the play I was talking about, where Sand King early on can be greedy and not pre-cast the epicenter if he goes for the burrow epicenter, but it only works if the global's there instantly. But he got stunned the second after his burrow. It was a bit of misfortune perhaps, or just Clutch Gamers being ready, and if the global silence had been half the second earlier, the epicenter goes off, Slater dies. There's probably no real counterplay there for Clutch Gamers, because that epicenter would have just completely zoned them out and gotten kills. Instead, and they're dropping one by one.
They're going to be able to go on a Ninja Boogie almost behind the tier 2 tower. Clutch Gamers.
Meanwhile,
these
though,
deep wards.
He's got the Sunder off at the tower. He's fighting 1v2, gets the Sunder off, is still fairly low, needs to be a bit careful, but there's no epicenter to fight into.
Oh my god, they've got him. RR in trouble. Oh, able to get the Burrow Strike, so he's away for the moment. Miracle has shown up as well, so possibly be able to find a little bit more. There's bugs on the Kunkka, trying to run out of there, but he is going to fall. Hana is going to have his false promise there, so a lot of regen coming in. The chase with the Storm Spirit, they're on top of Fly Solo, and they find that kill. So they end up getting a good deal back for the dead Silencer.
Didn't even lose their tower as well. That was really well played by RR on the Sand King. He managed to like somehow have like 2-3 heroes on top of him. He was getting blinked on by a Slater and still managed to get like 2 hero burrow strikes off. He kited them around and got away from the Slater. Like he stunned the Slater as he blinked in. That was some very, very good maneuvers from him and really salvaged that little fight for the Clutch Gamers side. But even with the Slater's plays, it was still a good chase down, and Mineski managed to get a good couple of kills there. Bloodstone up as well on Storm means that's his first Bloodstone charge, and that's where you want to see Storm start getting some kills.
Yeah, it feels like if they can sort of put their pedal to the metal, you've still got that great answer for the Tinker now in the Storm Spirit as well. So the game does, at least in some ways, become a little bit easier, although they have been able to catch Miracle again with this Weaver. They pull him back in. Global comes out, and it doesn't look like, well, another stun. That was a bit of a bash coming out. Now the Burrow Strike only connects onto one, but the Storm Strike going in as well. He's on top of that Kunkka. He is going to drop. Can they find anything else, though? RR goes down to the Oracle, I believe, actually the right click from the Terrorblade, and now finally they're going to be able to take this tower. Storm Spirit hiding to the side.
Mineski's still here, Storm hiding, but engaging seems difficult without the global sounds. They haven't, and without Sanking. So they don't have the sounds, they don't have the control of Sanking, means they can't really burst down the Terrorblade before it gets Metamorphosis, before he gets Sunder off, and with Metamorphosis up, you don't want to fight into him. He does too much damage, so at this point, they may even have to let 2 towers go. Which would be a really, really big problem for them. Metamorphosis still has a decent duration left up.
Managed to get the Fire Blast off before the Crush, but it is still going to be Miracle trying to stop it. They just don't have a great answer for Abe unless you jump in like that, but the Sunder turnaround is almost going to be able to bring down Bimbo when they do find that kill with the Torrent combo, and now Miracle is also going on to the Oracle. He gets the False Promise off. Another X into the boat. Can they find it? Can they kill it? It connects onto 2. Miracle drops down again, and now Bimbo back into the fight. Fly solo. He is never going to die here. He's out of mana at this point, but it does look like with that, Clutch Gamers are finally going to back out. They killed off the Terrorblade as well.
Yeah, they got the Terrorblade on the Storm respawn. It's one of those scenarios, I feel like it's kind of an even trade in the end. Like, they kill the Storm once, get his Bloodstone charges down, but he uses that first very short respawn off of his high Bloodstone charges to come back and get a few big kills. They kill the Terrorblade, they kill the Slatter, maybe slight edge going the dire way, because not only did they kill the Storm, they killed the Weaver. If it was Storm, Weaver, and like if it was just the Storm and Sanking, and then the Storm return got those kills, it perhaps would have been a bit more even. But with the Weaver kill, slight edge for Clutch Gamers. They don't get the tier 2 tower, but they get some damage onto it down to about half HP. So still, Clutch Gamers find themselves in a good position. This Tinker is absurdly farmed. He's got Blink Aether Lens all of a sudden, and halfway to an Aghanim Scepter. Armel is really starting to get out of control, and he's going to be a big problem for these upcoming team fights at this rate.
Yeah, it feels like there is sort of these 2 problems that you've got in the Terrorblade and the Tinker, and when one starts to get, hemmed in a little bit, the other starts to take off. Terrorblade's been able to move around the map. All the tier 1s are down. Tier 2 bottom is about halfway dead as well. And they kind of have solved a lot of the issues. But to me, the big one also is the Kunkka. Like, his constant counter initiations, they need some type of an answer for it.
Yeah, it's the global science is, I guess, meant to be their way of taking the team fights, but I feel like they haven't gotten the most value of. They're always used defensively. We're seeing it here. If it gets the Slaughter,
well, the epicenter, that might be the turnaround that they need. It's not looking like it's going to happen, though. Amel just jumps in and kills off the Storm again. It's too much.
Yeah, having to use these globals defensively to save someone from a Kunkka initiation or a Slaughter Blink Crush is not how you want to be using it. You want to be using it when you jump in. And I think the biggest problem for Mineski is it's constantly Clutch Gamers engaging on them. A defensive global, while good, potentially that could have killed them the Slaughter, and Storm could have gotten away if he didn't get caught by Tinker. Speaking of Storm, he's going to find another kill. This is a nice little pick up for some Bloodstone charges, but you want to be the ones initiating. You want to be catching Clutch Gamers with the Sand King initiation, Storm Ball in, and then use the global with your whole 5-man team diving the enemy. You don't want to use it to save one hero and then fight, because the fight happens after global's ended, so they're fighting with no global silence. They're just using the global to save a core. Right. So it's like, it's a good use of it, but it's not the ideal use.
And I think part of it, too, is the vision game. You have Tinker constantly pushing out these lanes, which means naturally Clutch Gamer is going to have a little bit better vision. They have one ward that's up here on the high ground, and a lot of Mineski's wards have had to be placed defensively, so they're not able to find that angle. And now, looking across the map again, you've got Ninja Boogie going to have to push out the top here. If they were in position, this could be a pretty easy pick-off as well. But it looks like they're searching for Amel, and just barely outside of range, he's going to be able to blink out. That would have been a huge one if Storm could have found him.
That first Remnant scouted him, but then he instantly blinked, and Storm didn't go for a follow-up Remnant in his new spot, otherwise he would have seen him, but would have been a tough kill anyways to have enough damage. The Tinker is fairly tanky. Oh, he hasn't actually got his point booster yet, so he's only 1300 HP. Could have been a kill with the Sand King there, but would have been perhaps a risky dive. Would have taken a lot of mana to dive for. Even so, tower defended Tinker. Very annoying to push into. Not a single tower claimed at this point. Definitely a perhaps slight concern for Mineski, but they're keeping close. Like, they're only 1,500 overall net worth behind, and that's without a single tower. So you think once these towers start falling, suddenly the game becomes, all it's going to take is one good team fight, they take a few towers, and they're going to be decently far ahead.
And it feels like their lineup, they're gearing up for the late game more so as well. You've got the Weaver with this Lincoln Sphere. He's now going to be going back and building into damage. And they have, in a lot of ways, a decent answer to most of these heroes. It's just a question of also, like, Terrorblade can start burning down the rest of these towers, and now building into a BKB next for him, that solves a lot of the problems from him dying in these earlier fights.
It does. It may put their lineup on a bit of a timer, and I guess that's maybe something Clutch Gamers felt was the case regardless of his next item choice. So they're like, all right, we want to end this game probably around we at least get a lane of racks around this first roach. And the best item to be able to push with is going to be a BKB. He's got the Manta, which is nice for maybe the Global Silence, but he wants the BKB against the Epicenter, against the Storm damage. So the fact he's going for a BKB and not like a farming item or a more like neutral item like a Skadi, the farming item like a Butterfly or a Skadi, these are like more like your DPS items, suggests they want to try. Normally you pick the BKB up at the stage where you want to fight and win the game. So he's going for it now. He also knows Storm has an Orchid, so he's going to maybe Manta out of the Global, and then there's an Orchid, and then suddenly he's got no Manta, so he wants to have like a second defensive item. But more than anything, I feel like Clutch Gamers will not want this game to drag too much. Tinker, while very strong right now, has been pseudo counterpicked. There's a Storm. Sand King's got like a pretty good chance of catching him as well. Silencer with the Global Silence. So I imagine Clutch Gamers are thinking like, let's use this Aghanim's Tinker timing to really get a lot done.
Well, it's smoke on smoke action as Mineski and Clutch Gamers are probably going to run into each other here. And it looks like Jules is going to be the first one to break the smoke, and they will end up revealing themselves on it. Sand King getting his Blink Dagger broken as well by that rocket. Can he get it off here? It looks like the boat to pull him back in is going to be able to connect on a Ninja Boogie as well. There's no chance for a counterplay, and Clutch Gamers with the creep wave already at the tier 2 should be able to secure this and maybe more.
Very important they got the second kill too there. For a second I thought it was just going to be an Ogre, and I was like, that's not really what they're hoping for, but the Silencer is the bigger kill of the two, and also the secondary kill, which means they get at least a tier 2. They can force high ground. They probably won't necessarily get a Raxi, but they can at least force Mineski to come defend. At this point you're thinking like, all right, we force them to 5-man TP base, we do a bit of damage to a tier 3 tower, and then we fall back to farm the map, take Roach. They may actually be able to get a tier 3 tower or something if they can keep the TB up while using the March to kind of protect it as well.
Yeah, Bimbo actually keeping his regen rune even through the March of the Machines coming through. So nifty little plays. They end up forcing the rotations back like you mentioned. Now it looks like Clutch Gamers will retreat as well. So a bit of damage onto that tier 3 tower. And I guess Roshan is probably going to be in the cards fairly soon if they can find another set of picks.
Yeah, it's relying on the picks, and this is the stage of the game where smokes are so important. They're absolutely crucial for finding those kills and securing stuff like Roshan. So we'll see for both teams really, like finding good opportunities and openings to do so. Mineski are going to go through theirs now. They know there's no Metamorph. They want to fight with the Global Silence, so they can get a good jump here. They would love to secure a Roach. They're showing Weaver at bottom, and this is, it makes them weaker with this smoke game, but it also makes the smoke more likely to find a kill. Because you see Weaver bottom, he's not a hero with Boots of Travel. He doesn't have a TP in. He's just completely separate from the rest of the team. But even with the Weaver showing bottom, they still don't find anyone at mid.
That's so frustrating. That would have been a great pickoff for him, but not able to get it. And looking to try and claim a tower here would be huge. They were able to finish off the entire top lane while all that action was happening. But being able to secure at least a little bit more of that middle could give them easier access to Roshan and things like that. So, Tinker, he's going to push out the lanes. Looks like he's going to be going for the Bloodstone next. Do you like this item choice for him in this game?
I guess so. It's the alternative is getting like the Hex type items or the like Shivers if you want something like defensive to tank up more with. I don't mind it. The lower respawn is always going to be pretty nice. It allows him to obviously use more spells in a fight. He's got a really big mana pool, a lot of mana regen too, so...
Whoa, Armel deep in, wanting to bring him down. Can they find the kill? They do. Sniper. All right, but now the X, the pullback in. He might end up dying from this. Can they kill him off? They can. So they lose the Tinker, but they also end up losing their Storm Spirit. And another X now onto the Sand King. A collection of interesting decisions to fight because the Terrorblade is all over him. And now they've got the Ogre as well. Mineski getting maybe a little bit too big for the britches here. And it looks like they are going to lose Jules as well.
imagine, looks like, okay, there was a Radiant Ward spotting the Tinker farming, and Miracle, Bimbo probably just made a call like, alright, I'm going to solo kill this Tinker, just use a Global Silence to cover me. He thought he'd get out, though. That's the problem. He doesn't get out, and once he doesn't get out, the Storm's dead. They know they can chase without kind of any punish available, but it's still Miracle getting 2 towers. He gets both the tier 1 mid and bottom, so it's not all a disaster for them, but with Storm dead and their follow-up kills, Roshan is secured thanks to the Metamorphosis being used. That was like the ideal way to use Metamorphosis. You get a couple kills, you win a fight, you take Rosh. That's Metamorphosis down, now you wait for it to come back up, then you group up with Aegis, you go for a push. He's going to have BKB now as well, so this is kind of like that peak I was talking about, where he's going to get BKB. And Storm, Tinker, by the way, has gone off the Bloodstone now. I think he's realized, like, okay, there's an Orchid up. This Storm seems dead set on just jumping me and solo killing me with Global Silence. How do I stop this? Let's get a defensive item. Go for a Yules. Lincoln's is like the other option, but the Yules is like the cheaper item, and that's the item that's going to allow them to get more value out of the Aegis and the BKB, which are just completed now as well. So he goes to the item which you can purchase sooner rather than later.
Now, and taking a look at talents, there's nothing that's too interesting here. I guess the 20-second respawn time in Oracle is pretty great in these fights, as well as the Sand King Midas respawn time. Sort of seeing if there's anything especially different. I like the torrent damage for Kunkka. It's kind of nifty as well. It helped him in the earlier phase, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's definitely handy. Storm went for the attack speed, 40 attack speed over 8 armor. I don't know, I kind of feel like he could have gone for the armor this game. He gets a lot of attack speed from Bloodlust, so at some point there's kind of diminishing returns from the extra attack speed. But he's going to have BKB, so he maybe just wants to do as much right-click damage as possible. I just feel like he's dying to the amp damage plus Terrorblade right-clicks if he ever gets disabled. So, I mean, in his mind, he's saying, I'm dying to the Tinker. So, obviously, it's a combination of the two. Last fight, he died to the right-clicks, but most of the fights we're seeing, it is the Tinker. So, I'm probably a bit biasing things off the last fight, which is perhaps like the abnormal fight.
Well, maybe also it's like, if I get caught, no matter what, I'm going to die, so I'll just try and kill him as quickly as possible and then get out. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's a tough decision no matter what. I don't think either of them solves the problems that he's been having.
He's a high-risk player. He'd rather go for like the playmaking option, which allows him to maximize his damage output when he balls in and has the Global Silence around him. So I like it's the talent choice which suits the player, right? But right now, with Aegis in hand, pushes coming, Arbing down the mid lane is low on mana, so I don't think they'll be able to go high ground with this. But they want to get at least the tier 2 mid. Perhaps they swing top, but even that lane is pushed out pretty fast. So this may just be a retreat, shrine up, heal up a bit, and wait for the next minute. They still got 2 minutes for another Metamorphosis. They'll still have Aegis for another 2.5, 3 minutes. So they've got a small window where they can go for one more Metamorph push.
Yeah. And I kind of, again, the sort of whole idea of Clutch Gamers draft here, you've got this Terrorblade who's sort of the big tanky damage dealer. Tinker can keep the lanes pushed out. And then you have, in a lot of ways, we hadn't talked about it a bunch, but the 2 defensive supports with the Rum buff as well as the Oracle False Promise. And now he's gone for BKB. Even if he didn't have the Aegis, I feel like Abe could stand almost on the high ground with Metamorphosis, and there's not much that Mineski can really do. Like, they have a good amount of damage, sure, but there's just so much save by Clutch Gamers' lineup. It's a really well-designed draft.
They do not want to go on the Terrorblade. That to me, is probably the main... I mean, if you can go on him and guarantee a kill, sure, which perhaps with Global Silence becomes possible, but Greaves is almost complete on Oracle, and that's when you can't kill him anymore, because you Global Silence, Oracle Greaves, he purges off the Global Silence, and then he can instantly False Promise the Terrorblade. So even if you're trying to chain stun, burst down Terrorblade, like you Epicenter Burrow Strike into Fire Blast, expecting the saves to be prevented, that's not always reliable.
Yeah, and like they're all smoked up. This looks like a perfect position in a lot of ways, but as you said, they're only really showing that Terrorblade, and then they can back out again, so can't even really make anything happen with that smoke. They spot them out as well now with this Terrorblade Illusion, which is going to punch Jules in the face a few times. And yeah, this is quite a hard game for them at this point, in spite of having, in a lot of ways, some counters to their heroes. If you're Mineski at this stage, do you need to try and just sort of find the Tinker, place down those wards, or how do you sort of react to this?
You slow things down, play for the late game. They've just picked up Midas on Silencer. I think they realize, like, all right, we want to get some more levels, get the stats up, get those talents going on our supports. We're not going to win this game fast. We're against, even if we win one fight, there's a Tinker on the other team. We're not going to be able to close anything out. So they're going to slow this game down a bit, wait for the Aegis to expire, and just rely on the fact that this Tinker at all stages of the game is going to struggle to play too aggressive because there's a Storm who can punish him, a Storm who's, I mean, doesn't have a whole lot of Bloodstone charges, but is decently farmed. He's where he needs to be. He's kind of on par with Tinker and Terrorblade for the most part. The problem is heroes like Slardar are scaling better than Sankey. Slardar went for a Midas. He's managed to farm up a BKB. He's level 18. He's already queued up an AC for his next item. He's actually able to really transition well, and I think that's something Mineski want to match up with their own items. They get the Midas and Silencer. They want a few more levels. They want to kind of split push and avoid fights as much as they can. Miracle has 2 defensive items in Linken's BKB, so he's got a lot of room to grow himself. And I think as far as approaching fights go, they've got to try and get the backlines. Catch the Oracle, catch the Kunkka. Even the Slardar is probably a higher priority kill than the Terrorblade in these upcoming fights.
Well, in the meantime, we do have pressure into the mid lane. Miracle doing his best to take down this tier 2 tower, is going to escape after the fact. Got Bimbo in this bottom lane, trying to pressure it out as well after the tier 2 tower goes down from Abeng. Yeah, and I think that it's worth reiterating a little bit. Oh, maybe a chance for a fight here as they're all grouping up. And Armel, like, Storm Spirit is here. They can't really go for it. But I was going to mention, like, how well Armel has played this game. He hasn't had so many flashy moments, I feel like. But in a game with the Sand King, a Silencer, and a Storm Spirit, he's only died once at the 33-minute mark on this Tinker. I feel like this is just an incredibly good, safe performance from him.
Oh, it's been fantastic. And the one death was a great fight for them. That was when Storm used all his mana, pulled in, and then died, and then they got 2 extra kills. So even his one death was to his team's advantage.
Global now committed for this one. They are going to be able to keep the Kunkka alive, and now BKB is wearing off. He's out of mana. Oh, wow. That really hurts.
It's Oracle for you. Use that Greaves into... I think he Greaves off the Silence. I'm not sure if the Silence had worn off already, but it looked like the Greaves into False Promise kept him alive, and I mean, it wasn't going to be a big win anyways. Like, Storm using a Global Silence and a BKB charge just to kill a Kunkka is not really what you want to see at 34 minutes in the game as a Storm, but it does buy you time. It's one of those kills where it's like, yeah, it's a support, but we kill him, we go back to farming, we go to split pushing. This game drags on even longer. So they're just looking to keep dragging the game out, but it doesn't even work. It backfires. You go for that play, you have to make sure that it works, because it's not even going to help you out that much as a Storm Spirit. So it sets them back quite a lot now. Miracle's instantly split pushing the top lane, but the problem is there's still Metamorphosis. They kill that Storm without having to use Metamorphosis, and they use Global Silence, so there's a 70-second window. High ground push coming, no Global Silence to worry about. Very likely we see a Rack sweep even.
Now there's the burrow. They're going to jump forward, get the kill. He just evaporated. Sand King is no longer here, and soon to be the barracks as well, as Abeng taking a good bit of damage, has Sunder BKB as well if he wants to use it, turns it around, takes down Storm pretty quickly with that one. And now Hana, maybe a bit too far forward, BKB pop for him as well, amp damage now onto Miracle. They do manage to take down that barrack, trying to chase a bit further forward, but Hana, can they take him down? It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They get the false promise onto Armel as well. He's not going to die. Abeng may be in some trouble, but now the lasers are going to start to go out in the Hana. 2-person crush, Burrow Strike as well, but can they bring down this Metamorphosis? He's just going to be able to live through it. The false promise, no, he's gone. Okay, so they lose 2. They get the Terrorblade in the end. The Fate's Edict was almost enough to keep him alive, but yeah, they did their job in the end here, and they're going to get the Kunkka as well.
Yeah. They got the melee racks, so definitely what Clutch gamers were hoping to get out of that, but perhaps a bit more lost on the retreat. But it was always going to be tough, because when like Slardar initiated him, goes in for the crush, he got the amp up on the Weaver, the entire time Terrorblade is seeing the racks. Like they're, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a disconnect, it was a clear like shot call where TV's like, I'm going to focus the racks, you guys distract the heroes, and he knew he's going to get that racks. He's got Metamorphosis, BKB, Manta, he's incredibly strong there, there's no Global Silence to deal with him. He knows he can either get the racks, or if he chooses to fight, perhaps they win the fight and he can get the racks afterwards, but that's like the riskier option. So he goes for the safe call, which is guarantee the melee racks, play objective gaming, and then because of that, because he's not using that Metamorphosis BKB to hit heroes, they lose the fight that happens afterwards, but he makes sure they get what they came for, and the end result is that Clutch gamers up in melee racks, they're still very farmed in their course. Tinker didn't actually die, so it was just the Terrorblade going down. But here's the real downside, and that's you're dead for the Roshan, so Mineski get themselves Aegis, which is actually strategically quite a big deal at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, you have to keep these lanes pressured out even further, which is difficult to do against a Tinker, but it does become a little bit easier. The plus side is they've also been able to finish off Sheepstick now on the Tinker himself. So he was able to get himself out of that fight, still sitting at 7-1, and now he has that mass disable that they need to deal with these very slippery heroes in the Storm Spirit and the Weaver. Granted, both of them have BKBs, but if you find that initiation, their lives are going to be quite tough.
Now the Tinker becomes a much higher priority to deal with in a team fight for Storm or Silence or whoever, but it's still like you can't get to the Tinker until you deal with the Oracle. So I still feel like the Oracle may be the first jump target for someone like the Sand King and the Storm, or perhaps Sand King and Weaver. You need some like blink stun onto the Oracle with a DPS hero, either the Weaver or the Storm, and then you go and deal with the Tinker. But as it stands with an Aegis in hand, it does give Mineski room to much more aggressively push up these lanes, take some fights. They're not too worried about this one lane. Problem is, with that tier 3 tower down, the shrines are going to start falling. But even strategically, these shrines, now that you've secured second Roshan, not as big of a deal because there's not going to be a fight near that Rosh area. It does mean that third Roshan not having shrines can perhaps come into play, but you've got this window where, again, your objective really was to stall this game. Give room for Miracle to grow his items. He's now got 5k gold. He's got the Mjolnir complete. He can buy an MKB, it looks like, to deal with the laser. Storm Spirit has a Hex of his own queued up, so we're going to see this next level of items come out from the Mineski carries, which they need to turn this game around.
Yeah, definitely it feels like that play to move in, take down Roshan. It's pulled them back, if not, certainly not even, but it's something. That's what they need. And actually, in terms of experience, they're 10,000 experience up because of those comeback mechanics, so all right.
And gold-wise, they're dead even. I mean, they're down to Rex. So, I mean, you look at big picture, they're not winning by any means, but they managed to get the kills they needed on the retreat. Their lineup is going late game, where I feel like they scale pretty decently. Yeah, these two supports can always offer a lot as far as damage mitigation on the Clutch Gamers side, but Mineski, I mean, Ogre, Silencer, decently scaling supports of their own, and supports that they're going to have more items. I think that's the big difference if you look at how these supports scale. Clutch Gamers are always going to be useful for their spells, but Mineskis have useful spells and they're going to have useful items. A Hex is queued up for a Ninja Boogie, he's like halfway there. The Ogre has a Greaves and a Hood for the team about to complete a Pipe. So both supports on this Radiant side are just getting more farm and more gold. And that can make a difference the later this game goes on. Having items like Hexes, Lotus Orbs on supports, Greaves and Pipes can be a deciding factor in a team fight.
So if you are Clutch Gamers at this point, then, do you feel the need, we already talked about them maybe being a little bit on a clock, do you have to wait the full 2 minutes before you end up trying to go for any real big push play, or does it all depend on if you can find a pickoff in the woods here maybe?
I think, yeah, if you find a pickoff, then you can go perhaps sooner, but realistically you're just taking map control right now. Like, they're setting up in the enemy jungle, trying to find a pickoff and get map control. They go on Miracle here.
Well, Kana also now turned upon, but they've got Oracle in the area to keep him alive. Miracle, he is actually not taking a ton of damage from this. They have the Rum buff as well. Now turned on to Jules. Ogre is going to die. Okay, Storm Spirit down on very low mana, but he does have the Aegis. Epicenter going to connect on to 3. Aubing, maybe, no, not able to get off the Sunder. He ends up going down there, and really, really bad fight here for Clutch Gamers. They're going to end up losing Armel as well. This was a huge win. If the Aegis was won, I mean, this is off the charts for him.
Dang. That's why that post-bottom racks made so, like, not going for the racks.
He's going for it. He got him.
Wow. That's a big kill, too. I mean, that is the Aegis, but that's how you want to use your Aegis, to get you a ton of golden kills for yourselves. And that's so much goes back to that decision at the bottom racks. TB, let's focus the racks, let's ignore the heroes. They then lose the fight because of it, and I think that's a good call, like, most of the time. But when your opponents then get the follow-up Roshan because of it, it set Mineski up to take a big fight like that. Like, Clutch Gamers are just lurking around, trying to get map control. They find it. They think they find a pick. It's a Weaver who has Lincoln's, BKB, Time-Lapse, and Global Silence protect him, so they're not really going to kill that Weaver, and I think that's where they mess up there. They're trying to take control of the Radiant jungle to set up for the post-Aegis push, but they needed to not go into here like a Weaver. If you catch like a Sand King, sure, that's a good kill to get, but Weaver is just never going to go down there, and as a result, Mineski pulled this game back a bit. This TB does feel like he's starting to fall off, not so much because the hero doesn't scale late game, but just because there's a lot of control. He's versing both Storm and Weaver, who are very elusive. That's more the problem here. TB's versing elusive carries that he can't lock down and kill. He's very reliant on his team to do that, and the only real lockdown at this point is the Slatter, who's kind of been getting crushed in these fights. He goes in, he instantly got almost killed and had to be false promise. So with Slatter dead, TB really struggles to get kills in these fights.
Yeah, and I think that also, like, the Sheep Stick is good in theory, but once BKBs are popped, if you're not finding a pick like in the midst of a team fight, it's not going to end up serving you that well because they just die so quickly. You look at it, it's the Weaver who ended up going for the Mjolnir Daedalus after the BKB and Lincoln, so he has a ton of damage now, not to mention, you know, the attack speed we talked about earlier from Storm Spirit, but now he also has the damage amplification talent tree and a Hex and the Orchid. This is becoming very tough. It looks like our holy bash! Hana, he's been praising the RNGs there, and they're going to find a kill.
Bit unfortunate. He would have been able to get 2, maybe 3 right clicks off for a bash. He just happened to get on the first right click, I believe. But even so, they find that kill. Not a huge kill by any means. Sanking does have that minus 30-second respawn talent, so he respawns fairly quickly. And there's no Roshan, there's no real towers to take off of this. I mean, they can push down mid lane, but by the time they get to enemy base, well, there's going to be a Sanking respawn. So it does look like they want to do that, knowing that Sanking may not be set up, but we'll see how things go. Terrorblade's Metamorphosis, yeah, it's back up. Needs to be able to get that Sunder off. And that's the problem last fight. Like, the False Promise went on Slaughter, and that meant Arbing didn't have a False Promise to protect himself to guarantee a Sunder coming out. He was very close to getting off. It was like mid-cast. If he got that Sunder off, I'm curious to see how the fight would have gone. I think Mineski still had the edge, but Arbing probably would have been able to get 1, maybe 2 more kills for himself before dying.
I really like this play moving in here, though, and taking down the other shrine and trying to secure up the vision.
Mineski, though, they're smoked.
Oh, God, this could be huge. You do end up coming out of the smoke now. They see that the Weaver is moving. Chasing.
The glyph is like a dead.
Find it. They're there. Hex on top of the Kunkka. The Global comes out as well. They are going to be able to keep him alive. Ghost Scepter as well as Echo Shell on top of him from that Lotus Orb. And now, control for the moment, but Storm not going to go down. A secondary Sheepstick onto Abank. Controlled, but gets the BKB off. Turns to fight. Miracle is still so elusive in these engagements as well. And it does look like they're going to be able to run down the Silencer for the moment. And they killed off Miracle as well. There's the stun. 3 dead for Mineski. And I think that Clutch Gamers might have been able to pull this one back out. We'll see how long the Roche respawn timer is, but that is going to be a huge couple of kills.
They want to get another lane of racks, ideally, or force buybacks, and it's just Weaver with a buyback. So Sanking's fast respawn will perhaps help him out. Storm can ball. He's going to have to ball lightning this wave without getting caught by a Slaughter, Blink Crush, or an X. Doesn't have a Lincoln Sphere. Doesn't have a BKB. I'm not sure how much Bimbos want to go for this one, but he kind of has to.
Yeah. Pulls back in. There wasn't an X there, and there also wasn't a Crush, as Hana was pretty far forward. But Abang, eyes on the prize. Melee Barracks about to go down. They do jump on top of him again, but BKB not quite there yet. He is going to be able to be healed up. False Promise, and now on to Miracle, but he gets the time lapse off. Sheepstick, counter initiation. Abang taking a ton of damage here. The Fire Blast as well, but he's able to survive. The Fate's Edict doing a ton to mitigate that magical damage, and now Storm is dead. 100 seconds with no buyback. And I think this could potentially be it if they can keep Abang alive long enough. He does have a Sunder in 19 seconds. Can they make it work, though? They're chasing him down. They do so much damage, and he is going to fall. Not able to make it happen. Oh, there's a lot coming out from the Tinker, and it could have been so good, but they don't end up making it work. And Mineski hold on for dear life. Might even find Fly solo. They do. Fire Blast to boot.
Another kind of take racks but clean up kills on the return. Difference this time, the Storm had to buy back. He had to die twice. That was heavily won by Clutch Gamers there, getting the racks and getting those big kills. And if they can hold on to buybacks here, they're in a perfect position to close up this game. Question is Roche going to favor Mineski again? This time it will not be respawning at a time that suits him. If Roche should respawn right now with those 3 heroes dead, you'd see Mineski in that pit finishing off. Miracle scouts it. Unfortunately, no luck for him. Last time they got the Roche, this time they will not, which means it would have had to be an Aegis on Weaver, because Storm, not alive, couldn't have picked it up for himself, but it still would have been nice to have that Aegis and Cheese. And more importantly, take it away from Clutch Gamers, because Clutch Gamers now with the melee racks at mid and bottom taken, their lanes are going to be pushing out, the Tinker can push them out, they can secure themselves Roshan very, very easily, perhaps. And that's something Mineski almost have to stop if they want to stay in this game.
And, I mean, we can talk all we want about these big items that are coming up on the supports. You've got the Pipe of Insight and the Guardian Greaves on Ogre. Probably the most farmed Ogre that I've ever seen in the Team of Dota 2 this patch. Yeah. And also on the side of the Silencer, he's got a Sheepstick after the Helmet Dominator and the Hand of Midas. But right here, right now, Clutch Gamers are, I'm assuming, looking to end this game with this next Aegis. And I feel like they're capable of making it happen. If they are able to win the fight at the very least.
If they can get it, yeah. I think Mineski are going to be kicking themselves a bit. They'd finally stabilized the game, and even though they're down in melee racks, it felt like after winning that Aegis fight, they were maybe in a slight edge, but they just chased too fast. Storm balled way ahead of his team, had the global silence, but Weaver doesn't ball, and he's fast and hard to kind of keep up with, but he wasn't able to like totally keep up with the Storm, and as a result, they just didn't really get great value out of the global silence when they dived as deep as they did, and now they're going to have to find a way to make sure they get off the global silence they're looking for around this Roshan pit. Weaver very farmed with Daedalus, another Demon Edge, combine MKB, combine Rapier if you're feeling desperate, although the MKB against what is now a completed Butterfly on Terrorblade is going to be probably the item he's looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely important to note Terrorblade does not have buyback, though. Something, I mean, maybe not apparent to Mineski, though, but something that if he dies, it could be very problematic.
They have caught Miracle. Do they know it, though? The X is there. They try and pull him back in. It's not going to be there, though. Hana, they end up making it work. The Lotus Orb ends up paying off. They pop the BKB for Abang and now trying to burn through that mana Bimbo. He's forced back out and away, but Miracle just does so much damage, and the Epicenter is there as well. Can they get the Sun Drop? They got the False Promise, looking to turn and take this fight. It's not quite going to be enough as of yet, and it does look like, well, Abang for the moment is going to fall. They end up taking down several more, and it looks like the Tinker goes down as well. RR is all over Fly Solo. In a second, they could probably finish him off also. Miracle did so much in this fight, and they're going to have to buy back, but they don't have the buyback on the Terrorblade, as you mentioned, and now Roshan is for them. Mineski win a huge one.
What a victory. There's a few spells where... This is why, like, I remember when the Aghanims on Anti-Mage was brought in and people were like, holy crap, this is so good. There's a few spells you just don't want to Lotus. Snowballs on Tusk is probably one of the biggest ones where Lotusing a Snowball can be really bad for you because you snowball into the enemy. Burrow Strike, it did the same thing there. That Slardar got pulled into Mineski because Sand King Burrow Strike the Slardar when he was Lotus, and then as a result, Slardar Burrow Strike where the Sand King was, which was in the middle of the Mineski team. Yeah. So it was his own Lotus Orb that kind of worked against him. And the end result was, like, there was no false promise to save Slardar. You don't want Slardar dying at the start of the fight. And I think he made, like, he's probably telling his Oracle, like, save false promise for the carries. I've got BKB, I've got Lotus Orb, but he got pulled in way too deep. And as a result, this game will go on as 50 minutes in the game. Still a very winnable game for Mineski, despite being down 2 melee Raxes. All it's going to take is a Terrorblade kill without buyback, and you found yourself in a fantastic position. Or at this point, a Tinker kill. He's the one who just used buyback, so you kill him again, you've won the game, perhaps.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, they don't know that Terrorblade didn't have buyback there. He does have it now. They end up securing Roshan again. If you're Mineski, there's like no real pressure for you to try and end the game early right now by any means. But likewise, on Clutch Gamers, what is it that they need to kind of do? Because they've also sort of lost complete and total map control. I believe that they lost the gem in that fight also. And these are heroes that can move around and just deward everything.
I wonder if they can buy a new gem. Doesn't look like they've done so just yet. But I think that fighting into the Aegis is just not... You're up 2 melee Raxes. Yeah, you're maybe not the best scaling late game team with Terrorblade Tinker just because you're versing such good elusive carries that can deal with the Tinker and Terrorblade quite well, but there's an Aegis, there's a cheese. I think the call is very much wait for the Aegis tease to expire, and then you smoke out. Then you look to find a pick off and take that top lane as well. For Mineski, as much as maybe they can scale late game, they're going to want to use this Aegis and cheese to try and find a fight for themselves. Try and perhaps get a good pick off using the Storm. They've got double Hexes, they've got Aegis, they've got cheese. I think they're the team looking to actually fight right now, despite their lineup scaling well. They've even just completed an MKB on Weaver. So Weaver's got BKB and MKB. He's just short buyback, so perhaps they're waiting Miracle's buyback, which is in about 30 seconds time with a bit of gold. So if he can have a buyback as well as this, then you're looking really good in Mineski's shoes.
Yeah, the Weaver 25 talent, too, just makes him so difficult to deal with. I feel like this is one of those better ones in the game right now for 25s, and with all of the damage that he's built into it, like he has 2 defensive items on top of the high movement speed, and he still does so much damage. Now they have Bloodlust on him also. Yeah, this is quite a difficult hero to deal with. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, you look at the levels across the board, and Mineski is just so far ahead that they actually are making a lot of use of these level 25 talents. You've got the 50 health regen on Sand King too, so he has passively 67 regen or just 75 regen, depending upon where he's at and what's around him.
That's a really fantastic talent to have. I mean, if he's not getting burst down instantly in a fight, he will get like good value out of that. Silencer's going to have some level 25 talent coming soonish as well, almost level 24. So we see some attack range, even the curse slow could be nice. Although at this point, I think he's like thinking like I'm scaling into a core, maybe even just go for the attack range. But
he has refresher too.
That's a really big pickup. If you can get that follow-up refresher, even sometimes you just want to change, like use both refreshers, like use the silence kind of to overlap to catch the heroes after they BKB or Manta or Guardian Greaves. This refresher could be very problematic because everyone has a way to get out of the global now almost. The Greaves, the Yules on the Tinker, the Slider has a Lotus Orb, the BKBs, the Manta Style. All these heroes have escapes for global silence, and that's where you want to have that second one. Use a second global silence when they've already used those items.
That is going to be a lot of mana, though. He's up to 500 for the global silence and then refresher on top of that. So if he uses all of his spells, he might be starting to run a little bit low.
He's got 700 mana, Gabe. He's
okay.
I believe you for a second there. I clicked him. I was like, wait a second. He's got ridiculous mana. He's also got 30 mana regen.
Fair enough. Jumping in now, though. They're going to be able to get the X to pull back in and keep their buddies alive.
Something I feel like they haven't used. I was thinking this early in the game, like, oh, they've got this the Kunkka Tinker duo. Oh, pull it off. Terrorblade, but there's just such great use with the X to go for like a more burst damage Tinker, where you X the Tinker, he blinks in, he throws all of his spells, including like a Dagon, like going for like a Dagon 5 build this game with the Kunkka to back him up. I think you would have been perhaps better. Easier to say that now because of how the game's developed, but it just feels like he's not doing enough damage and they're not using the X to its full kind of effect.
God, Lotus Orb, the sound for that is just, it always strikes fear into my heart that something crazy is going on, even when it's just Ignites being thrown back and forth.
Age is about to expire. There we go. It's expired now, and I think that's perhaps the end of Mineski's pushing. It was really more a poke and prod, like, all right, let's go push and see what happens. We jump a TB. Oh, right, he's getting Lotus. He's getting Manted off. He's not really going down. So, I mean, the Aegis, if anything, isn't the deciding factor for the push. It's just finding a way to get to the backlines, to get onto heroes like Fly Solo and the Oracle. And I think that's going to come from perhaps Miracle just going for a huge dive deep in the enemy base, having a buyback and using that. But as it stands, Tinker has been given breathing room, and that's important because his buyback is on cooldown for 1 more minute, and it looks like that Mineski are unable to punish the lack of buyback or the previously used buyback of it.
It definitely feels like these SCA region games, first of all, they've been amazing. Like, if you guys haven't been able to tune into them, they've been absolutely great to watch. But also, they've been tending to go really late, and it feels like the teams are willing to sort of make the late game decisions and you know, build into that. We also have a refresher for the Terrorblade now. That's not something that we often end up seeing. Do you like the pickup?
Yeah, maybe I would have expected the travels before he got this, but it is good. I mean, it refreshes the BKB Manta cooldown. More importantly, the Metamorphosis. Like, you want to have the double Metamorphosis. If you somehow use Metamorphosis, you win a fight, and then your opponents buy back, and Meta is on cooldown, you have to back off. But with a refresher, you get a second go at Meta. TB not in Meta form in late game is very underwhelming as a carry. He's kind of a very superpowered melee creep at that point. I mean, he does do a lot of damage, but he already gets kited as it is. He's versing Weaver Storm. He's getting kited. When he's ranged, when he's melee, he's doing no damage to those heroes. So he has to have Metamorphosis up in a fight, and that's where the refresher is. Yeah, I like the item.
All right. God's approved. We'll see if Aben can make good use of it. I am still feeling right now as if Mineski not really wanting to venture too far forward. And you can understand the trepidation, because if they go up there, they lose a fight, suddenly their base is gone. Like, maybe if they don't have buyback or whatever else, they're going to have it at that point if they go up to high ground. But it's just so scary. The problem and the thing that I'm worried about is they're sort of setting up where they have to win this next fight, because if they do end up giving up Roshan, that's a pretty easy move for Clutch Gamers to potentially get mega creeps if they just walk up that hill. I don't know. Would you be concerned at all for Mineski that they're giving Clutch Gamers a little bit too much room here?
Not too much. I think the main thing the main benefit they're getting is these level 25 talents. I don't know how much Mineski's, they're probably keeping tabs of levels a little bit, but like, I feel like a lot of Mineski's heroes are peaking or very close to peaking, whereas Clutch Gamers get a decent amount stronger with some of these level 25 talents, they have 3 heroes level 24 right now, so they're about to get quite a few more of them, but I think more than anything, Mineski they can feel they're in control of this game. They're down 2 melee Raxes, but they're the ones who just pushed up to the enemy base. At this point, Clutch Gamers are showing no signs of trying to take a fight, to initiate in. They know there's a double global silence that they're fighting into. This Clutch Gamers team is scared. Nah, they're going to smoke up and go for a play here, but they're playing, like, outside of, like, smoke plays like this, they're playing very timid. They're hiding in their base. They're not... Mineski is showing all their heroes on their map, typically, and Clutch Gamers are unable to do anything about it.
Well, maybe they can make something of it here as they're moving in, and we'll be able to go for the wraparound. Currently, Silencer. Oh, this would be a huge pick if they could find him, but they don't quite spot it. It's Jules instead. And this isn't the pick that they're looking for. They should be able to find this kill pretty easily. Global comes out. That's the first one. Able to get the Yule Scepter, lift up the Global to follow, though. And Amel now controlled. Nobody is there to help him out. They're trying to get into range, but it's not going to be there. Burrow Strike, Epi onto absolutely everybody. And Abeng able to turn this back around now. Does have the Sunder. It's the 10-second cool one. Ends up going for the Refresher as well. Turning to fight Miracle. Eats the cheese. Trying to stay alive. Amel bought back. They're able to take him down. So Miracle is dead. 2 minutes. Does have buyback. They've already bought back on the Storm as well. Hana is going to drop there by the Storm Spirit. Abeng, he does have Sunder again. He didn't end up getting it off, though. So he falls, and that one really hurts.
He refreshed, too. He refreshed and used Metamorphosis. He's got no Metamorphosis. They may just go straight for the throne. TV can buy back, but how much can he do without Refresher, without Metamorphosis? That's disastrous for him. I think he thought if he got that extra Sunder off after that refresh, it could have worked out for him because he could have kept fighting and maybe got another kill, but he's going to buy back, and perhaps Mineski will get scared just because it's a buyback, but if they know he's got no meta, they may look to force this fight.
Oh, God. And, I mean, you do have Miracle who's taken a good bit of damage, but they found Armel again, and he is going to drop now. They've also taken down this Kunkka. Hana in just a little bit too late. They buy back on that Terrorblade, and it's a try to create any little bit of damage that he can, but they're just all over him. And I think that Mineski have finally done it. Clutch Gamers, well, Sunder, okay, maybe. Possibly. It's the 10-second Sunder. It's pretty good, but they don't have the damage.
Yeah, he's still a melee creep. He's still unable to hurt the Storm or hurt the Weaver. Weaver took that entire fight on about 20% HP, but there was just no real threats to him without Metamorphosis up. Like a Slider Blink Crush with a Metamorphosis TB, they can kill the Weaver, but without the meta, TB has no way to get on top of heroes to do damage, and Mineski, playing it safe, not going for the throne, are going to go for the Mega Creeps, it looks like. I have no problems with that call. You're in a tense game in the playoffs for the Kiev Major. Go for the safe call, take the Mega Creeps, don't risk it going for a throne you may not get. I believe they could have gotten it, but either way, it's like, let's secure this game and then see if we can get the tier 4s next.
Wow. And, I mean, Terrorblade bought a Shadow Blade there, trying to run out and see if he could do something, but there's just, I mean, they have a gem on the Ogre as well. He's standing guard. A very, very rough one with 50 seconds, no Tinker, and no Metamorphosis for another 27. All the hopes and dreams are here at this last little head, and well, they get a crush. There's the Lincoln Sphere. Global comes out, and that potentially could be it. They're on top of him. Yeah, it's done.
What a way to start the playoffs for Eazy.
Yeah, Mineski ended up taking a big win over Clutch Gamers. They were down a really long time, down 2 melee creeps, in fact, and they end up winning it. Tell me how you felt about these two teams and about looking at Mineski as well, who looked quite good.
Yeah, very, very evenly matched. I don't really feel either team won the draft. It was kind of a nice little matchup where Clutch Gamers were on a bit of a timer. They had a Tinker who was snowballing, doing incredibly well. Terrorblade had a bit of a rough time in the lane, but he farmed up his, like, he was on track to hit all his item timings that he needed. They just didn't get enough done with the BKB. And that second Roshan, that really, to me, was the tipping point. The fact that Mineski are able to get the kills on the retreating Clutch Gamer squad at that bottom lane and then secure Roche. If they don't get that Roche, the game is probably won by Clutch Gamers with second Roche. The fact they can secure Roche, take it away, and then win I think they got like a 3-4 hero kill team fight off of it. That really made all the difference this game. So very, very great matchup. I think we'll see some adjustments from Clutch Gamers, maybe take out some of these problematic heroes like Bimbo's Storm Spirit, which he loves to play. But all in all, a great close match. And I think Clutch Game is just going to be saying, like, look, we can beat these guys. That was a close game. One or two small things went differently, went our way. We win that game. So I don't really, like, I feel like looking back in that game, they could play it 100 times and both teams would probably win it 50 times. It was just such an even match.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here in this game number 1. Clutch Gamers facing off against Mineski. A little bit later on as well, we're going to be seeing Faceless face off against TNC Pro Team. But for now, we're going to be moving in to game number 2. Myself, Lyrical, as well as Gods, your 2 commentators for this one. And we will see you guys in just a little bit with game number 2.
Harness powerful forces of nature. What will be your mightiest weapon? What will be your most cunning play? Join the Gwent Beta.
Do you play Dota 2? Would stakes make your games more exciting? No, not those stakes. These stakes. Log into our website and challenge a friend, or search for a quick match. Choose your settings and get matched in what we call a stake to play game. Hold on, just gonna win this. Yeah! And when you win, you can buy, I don't know, a steak or whatever. And yeah, that's basically how ePulse works. So sign up and play at epulse.com.
Hey, buddy!
Hi guys, I am Jesse. I'll be making the analysis from a replay.
Hi guys, Slasher here. In this series, Slasher dissect Phantom Assassin.
My name is Jenkins Dota.
E-Gaming Bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quests for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.